Now that Stranger Things has finally concluded, I want to continue my series with things you might have missed while watching the final episode. I saw that this series was very successful, and if you enjoy this video, I would make a second part as well, because I'm sure that if I gave the whole season another rewatch, I would discover even more hidden gems. Some of these details might be obvious, so I will try to make a ranking, starting with the most obvious references and moving toward the hardest ones to spot. We start this list with Dustin's graduation speech. Many people already caught the Eddie reference. Everything Eddie said in the cafeteria that he would do at graduation was done by Dustin. I'm gonna walk that stage next month, I'm gonna look Principal Higgins dead in the eye, I'm gonna flip him the bird, I'm gonna snatch that diploma, and I'm gonna run like hell. Dustin does all of this while Iron Maiden's The Trooper plays in the background, which is the perfect ending to Eddie's character arc. Next up, we have Will's drawing from Season 4. In the final scene, when Mike sits down at the desk to write, we can spot that drawing hanging in the most prominent spot on the wall. This scene also reminded me of The Lord of the Rings, when Bilbo Baggins finishes writing his story. Although many fans speculated that this last scene is an homage to Stephen King, who was a major inspiration for the Duffer Brothers in creating this epic saga, Mike draws inspiration in a similar way. Like Stephen King, they create their stories based on their own experiences and real events. Another detail that is relatively easy to spot can be found when Vecna infiltrates Hopper's mind. Those herbicide canisters from 1966 are Agent Orange, which Hopper released during the Vietnam War. Prolonged exposure to Agent Orange was linked to illnesses in several soldiers and even passed on genetically to their children. Hopper always blamed himself for Sarah's death. He thought he was the reason his daughter got cancer because he had been exposed to Agent Orange for so long and passed those toxic genes on to her. This scene with the herbicide canister should have been the first hint that everything happening was only an illusion created by Vecna. The last easy-to-spot reference is a callback to the final episode of Season 2. The girl who comes to talk to Dustin after his graduation speech is Stacy Albright, the same girl who rejected him at the snowball. Apparently Nancy was right. Girls your age are dumb. Give them a few years and they'll wise up and you'll drive them crazy. I also feel a little bad for Steve. It looks like Dustin didn't need Steve's iconic hairstyle to get the girl. He needed Eddie's character. Nonetheless, it felt like a really nice callback. As I said, these Easter eggs were fairly easy to spot if you're an avid watcher, but trust me, these next findings will blow your mind. We start with what I believe is even more proof that 11 is alive. The background song used in that moment was Heroes by David Bowie. This is the exact same song that played when Will's fake body was recovered from the water in Season 1. The song was also used during Hopper's fake-out death. As you can see, this seems to be the Duffer Brothers' favorite choice of music when they want to pull off a fake death. So, fingers crossed that 11 is alive. And speaking of 11 being alive, the last scene we see her in was shot in Iceland. The waterfall we see is called Hæfoss, and it's the third highest waterfall in Iceland. But the interesting part isn't the height. The interesting part is that this landscape actually contains 5 waterfalls, not 3. One Easter egg that most people missed is the town where Hopper wanted to start a new life with Joyce. Hopper was offered a job in Montauk. This doesn't just reference the U.S. secret government program that inspired the Duffer Brothers. It was also the original name of the show. When the Duffer Brothers first pitched the series, it wasn't called Stranger Things, it was called Montauk. Initially, the show was meant to be set in Montauk, Long Island, instead of the fictional Hawkins, Indiana. Another major U.S. secret program is mentioned during the conversation between Jonathan, Nancy, Robin, and Steve. When the 4 of them decide to meet up once a month, Nancy suggests meeting somewhere neutral, in the middle. That's when Robin mentions she has an uncle in Philadelphia. Coincidentally, the experiment that started this entire story was the Philadelphia experiment, in which the U.S. attempted to make the USS Eldridge invisible, but instead allegedly transported it into the abyss. So the idea of them meeting in Philadelphia feels way too specific to be random. This next reference, I guarantee you didn't spot on your first watch. If you did, let me know in the comments because you have some seriously sharp observation skills. The reason this was so hard to notice is the emotional impact of the scene. It was too much to process on a first viewing, while also looking for hidden clues. I'm talking about the scene with Henry's backstory. Did you know that his Boy Scout number on the uniform was 1106? The same date Will was taken? Yeah, I didn't catch that either. If you were up to date with interviews before the release of the final episode, you know the Duffer Brothers were especially excited about the soundtrack. They said they licensed songs that had never been used in movies or TV shows before. Those songs were When Doves Cry and Purple Rain by Prince. These songs hadn't been used in a TV series since Prince included them in the soundtrack for his 1984 film Purple Rain. When the group sets the explosives to destroy the Upside Down once and for all, they play side 2 of Purple Rain, which starts with When Doves Cry and ends with the title track. Purple Rain plays as Eleven appears to sacrifice herself when she brings Mike into her mind to say a final goodbye. I already pointed out that in the final scene with Mike writing, you can spot Will drawing on the wall, but there's another hidden detail you probably missed. If you look closely at Mike's desk, there's a framed picture, and when you zoom in, you can see that it's a picture of 11. Next, we have a powerful visual message that Karen conveys. At the graduation, we see that she chooses to wear a low V-neck. And not only that, she also chooses jewelry that draws attention to that area. In Karen's case, it highlights the Demogorgon claw mark. I believe this sends a powerful message. Instead of hiding her scar with a scarf or a high-neck top, she wears it proudly, a symbol that she did everything she could to protect her daughter. The last hidden detail during the graduation scene comes at the very end. After Dustin finishes his epic speech and reveals his Hellfire t-shirt, everyone stands up and applauds, except Andy. I don't know why, but I found this moment particularly funny, especially Andy's facial expression. There are still a few Easter eggs that I'm not sure where to place, or even if they truly are Easter eggs. But for example, the scene where Henry first touches the rock gives off strong, "My precious" vibes from The Lord of the Rings. The Russian spy telling Henry, "You need to resist it or it will consume you," mirrors the message of The Lord of the Rings, where the ring bearer must resist temptation or be consumed by its power. And speaking of rings, I don't know if it's just me, but doesn't the ring Hopper gives Joyce look very similar to the ring Jonathan gave Nancy? I'm not sure if this is important or not, but Joyce hits Henry exactly 8 times before finishing him off. I don't know if this was random or a hidden reference to the fact that Kaylee is still alive and has one more role to play. But as Lucas said, I don't believe in coincidences anymore. So I decided to include it. I don't know if this can really be considered an Easter egg, especially since the movie came out in the 90s. But the final scene with Derek playing catcher on Steve's baseball team felt like a reference to The Sandlot. Finally, the fight between Eleven and Vecna gave off some serious Mortal Kombat vibes, especially Sub-Zero versus Liu Kang. Stranger things may be over, but the conversation definitely isn't. The Duffer Brothers packed this finale with callbacks, symbolism, and hidden meaning that reward every careful viewer, and I'm sure there are still details waiting to be discovered. So let me know in the comments which Easter egg blew your mind the most, or if I missed something entirely. And if you'd like a part 2, just say the word, because this world still has plenty of secrets left to uncover.